Scott Lang may be great at making us laugh and at close-up magic, but it's safe to say he isn't exactly the most brilliant mind in the MCU. That being said, just because he doesn't quite understand quantum technology doesn't mean he can't come through for our heroes in Avengers Endgame. With Hank Pym and his family gone, Ant-Man is the one with the most knowledge of and access to his technology, which could prove integral to defeating Thanos. For a convicted felon, Scott Lang is an incredibly likable guy. He's a doting dad with a great sense of humor. He's a superhero fanboy, at least where Captain America is concerned. There's no denying Scott has the skills and moral fortitude to be a hero, but more often than not, he doesn't act on his own accord. In both of his movies, he pretty much does everything he's ordered to do by Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne. Even when we saw him in Captain America: Civil War, he was just following the instructions of other, more authoritative heroes. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares when he's on his own for a bit following the decimation. At the end of the mid-credit scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp, we thought Scott was hopelessly trapped inside the quantum realm, until he showed up perfectly fine in the trailer for Avengers Endgame. Now that's one magic trick that's actually impressive. But what happened to Scott Lang after he escaped the quantum realm, and before he got together with the rest of the surviving heroes? There have been many alleged spoilers and leaks floating around about Endgame, but one of them involving Scott Lang seems pretty plausible. A casting call went out looking for someone to play what sounds like an older version of Scott's daughter, Cassie Lang. In the Ant-Man movies, the part is played by Abby Ryder-Fortson, who has a few years to go before becoming a teenager, but there have been rumors that teenage actress Emma Thurman has been hired to portray an older Cassie Lang during Avengers Endgame. If an older Cassie Lang is going to make an appearance during Endgame, is it possible that Scott doesn't manage to exit the quantum realm with perfect timing? All things considered, it seems like it'd be pretty unlikely for him to get out at the right time, especially if his escape involves utilizing a time vortex. One theory is that at first, he overshoots and ends up a few years in the future. This could explain the older Cassie Lang as well as one of the scenes from the Endgame trailer. Scott ending up in the future and reuniting with Cassie would mean she survived the decimation, but Scott would still have plenty of motivation to put things right. At the very least, he'd want to save Hank, Hope, and Janet, and then there's Cassie's mother and stepfather whose whereabouts are unknown. It'd also be interesting to see how the world is faring years after the decimation, and might provide some valuable insight into how to stop Thanos. If you watch the trailer on YouTube, those few short minutes might have revealed a potentially interesting detail. During one scene, we saw Scott walking down the street in shock and awe. Behind him, we see a house which is way overgrown and looks to be in a state of disrepair, and those missing posters on the telephone pole in front of him look incredibly old, like they've been there quite some time. But what you might not have seen in the YouTube version was what Scott was clutching in one of his hands. It's easier to see on the Instagram version where the aspect ratio is slightly different, but it looks as though Scott is holding onto some kind of handle. In fact, it looks like the handle of one of those rolling suitcases, and somehow we don't think Scott has packed up his drum set to visit the Avengers. It seems more likely that he's holding on to the handle of Hank Pym's portable, shrinkable laboratory. We saw Hank's shrinkable lab in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it makes sense that Scott would take it with him after escaping the quantum realm. After all, it's not like Hank's gonna be using it. Sorry, too soon. Not only is Scott likely bringing along Hank Pym's laboratory, but it looks like he's bringing the whole quantum realm along with him. Well, kind of. We saw him standing in front of his pal Luis's van when he pulled up to Avengers headquarters. Poor Luis. After his mother died, his father got deported, and his girl left him. That van was all he had. When it comes to resources, Scott is definitely not showing up to meet our other heroes empty-handed. And if Scott thinks seeing a telephone pole of missing posters is upsetting, just wait until he finds out he's missing too. He appeared among the victims of the decimation Bruce Banner was looking over during the very first Endgame trailer. Finding out you've been missing and presumed dead is some pretty heavy stuff, but thankfully, Scott's alive and well. Well, for now at least. One of the moments from the Endgame trailer we just can't stop thinking about is when we saw those snazzy new super suits our heroes were wearing as they purposely strode through the Avengers facility. At first glance, they bear a striking resemblance to Scott's Ant-Man suit, designed by Hank Pym and utilizing quantum technology. We're guessing Hank didn't leave a legion of other super suits in his lab, so it's likely someone else made these using his discoveries. And now that Tony Stark is finally helping out down on Earth instead of monologuing in space, there's a chance he helped create these suits along with Bruce Banner, and possibly even Shuri, if she survived the snap. Scott might not be able to understand any of Hank's work, but surely between Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, they could figure out some useful stuff. It's possible these suits combine the very best of Pym and Stark technology and are made for traversing the quantum realm. Why the quantum realm? Well, there are tons of possibilities. The quantum realm is home to some valuable resources, like quantum energy, and retrieving some of this was what Scott was doing in the first place when he got trapped there. Then there's the idea that the quantum realm is filled with time vortexes, which Janet Van Dyne warned Scott about at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. There's even hidden cities inside the quantum realm. If you missed that particular Easter egg, don't feel too bad. It was pretty hard to spot, but in a freeze-frame shot, you can clearly see a city exists within the quantum realm. We didn't have much of a chance to hear about the inside of the realm from Janet Van Dyne. Maybe in the excitement of being rescued, she forgot to tell everyone about the city hidden inside the quantum realm. Or maybe she filled everyone in at some point off screen. We know it's weird to admit, but Scott Lang might know something we don't if Janet did disclose more information about the quantum realm than what we were privy to. We might even get to see Scott make some of these discoveries for himself in Endgame. After all, if he can travel through time, how long he spends in the quantum realm is irrelevant up to a point. There's going to be a lot going on in Endgame, but it's possible that the quantum realm holds some secrets, which may come in handy when trying to take down the Mad Titan. And having Scott Lang be the one to introduce time travel as a real possibility is a particularly interesting one, as well as kind of a surprise. For a long time, we've been wondering how exactly Captain Marvel was going to factor into Avengers Endgame. We knew her standalone movie was going to take place in the 90s, and that we haven't seen her around the MCU since then. Many fans wondered if she'd show up with a whole host of exciting new powers and knowledge of how to travel through time. There was even an interview with actor Samuel L. Jackson in which he stated Captain Marvel can travel through time. But in the movie, we didn't see any evidence of Carol Danvers being able to do that. Sure, she had access to advanced Kree technology, but we didn't see if any of this tech allowed her to travel through time at any point in the movie. If there's going to be any time traveling during Endgame, it looks like Ant-Man is going to be our best chance of this. Captain Marvel may have the strength to pose a serious threat to Thanos, but it looks like Scott is going to be the source of the knowledge needed to face him. In a way, this is kind of comforting to the many fans who feared Captain Marvel would swoop in to save the day at the expense of our well-known and much-loved heroes. Endgame is a precarious time to introduce a new character to the group, and many fans have worried about her being too overpowered. But if someone like Scott Lang is going to be bringing such useful information to the table, it looks as though Marvel is going to make sure everyone has their own important role to play. We're glad that Ant-Man isn't going to be pushed aside in favor of Captain Marvel, at least for now. Those new suits do look like they're meant to traverse the quantum realm, but they also have one interesting addition we didn't see in the trailers. A Funko Pop figurine of Tony Stark shows him wearing his new outfit with an interesting apparatus attached to his arm. It looks almost like a watch, and we're assuming it has a much more interesting function. We also spotted multiple cast members wearing these devices while filming Endgame and wearing their normal costumes. One popular theory about these devices is that they may have been created to hold an Infinity Stone. After all, if our heroes are going to recover the stones, they're going to need some way to transport them safely. In the set photos, it looks like our heroes have traveled back in time to the Battle of New York. If they're traveling back in time to collect the various Infinity Stones or somehow make copies of them, it makes sense that they'd need to have a way to get them back to the present day. But it's possible these devices are being worn by our heroes for a much more benign reason. After all, we've seen them on our heroes' wrists while they're wearing both the new suits and their regular costumes. It's possible these devices use quantum technology and simply allow the wearer to switch between their multiple outfits. We even saw Captain Marvel make various costume changes at the push of a button in her standalone movie, so it's possible that these devices cause the new suits to appear when the wearer needs to travel through the quantum realm, and then, when it's time to fight, they revert to their traditional costumes. We also think it's important to note that Scott Lang is wearing one of these new suits as well. It looks remarkably similar to his red one, but yet he still suits up with the rest of the team. This leads us to believe that these suits contain some kind of new feature, likely devised by Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, or both. Otherwise, Ant-Man would probably just wear the suit he's used to wearing. It's not like the group has ever worn matching suits before. They tend to all go their own ways style-wise. If our heroes are going to attempt to utilize the time vortexes inside the quantum realm, then it's possible that these suits are meant to withstand the challenges that come with that. We'd imagine going through a time vortex would put a certain amount of strain on a person, and perhaps these suits are meant to combat it. Scott's suit was designed for quick forays into the quantum realm, so it probably doesn't have all the bells and whistles of these new suits. What do you think happened to Scott Lang following the decimation? And what's in store for him during Avengers Endgame? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section below, and then click on the subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.